Chapter 163. Finally meeting the murderer. The night wind was strong. It landed on Xu Qing's magic boat at port 79 and spread out on the protective barrier, but was unable to pass through. If it could penetrate the protective barrier and blow into the cabin of the magic boat, it would discover that there was no one there. Far away from the magic boat, in a dark corner under a house, Xu Qing silently leaned against the wall. He crossed his arms and stared coldly at his magic boat. When he closed his eyes and opened them again, a sharpness filled them. "Will someone come tonight?" Xu Qing lifted his head and looked at the pitch-black sky. "It is a night of killing," Xu Qing mumbled softly. However, he kept recalling the image of the vast black cloud and the phoenix eagle in it. When he had gone to retrieve the magic boat, he had asked Zhang Sen about this. Zhang Sen didn't know much about it and only told him that this existence was related to the largest forbidden zone in the Nanhuang continent, the Phoenix Forbidden Zone. It was the emperor of that forbidden zone, named Flame Phoenix. The origin of the term Phoenix Forbidden was also because of it. Its existence was supreme. Not only did it suppress the forbidden zone, but it also suppressed the entire Nanhuang continent. In fact, the name of the Nanhuang One continent was also because of it. Located south of the Wangnu continent, on the Forbidden Sea, there was a divine creature whose might caused the sky to darken and all living beings to revere it. It was known as the Flame Phoenix and lived on an island. Hence, it was named the Nanhuang One. As for the details, Zhang Sen didn't know much either. Flame Phoenix, Xu Qing mumbled inwardly. As he cultivated and came into contact with many things, he gained a greater understanding of this world. The sea breeze blew over. Amidst the wind, there was the sound of clothes fluttering. When it entered Xu Qing's ears, it instantly pulled him back from his reverie. Xu Qing stopped thinking about the Flame Phoenix and looked at the harbor in the distance. Very soon, 5 figures entered Xu Qing's vision. There were 3 men and 2 women. Xu Qing wasn't unfamiliar with the 2 women in front. Regardless of whether it was the fishy smell from the wind or their figures, Xu Qing recognized them at a glance. These 2 were the elder sisters of the merfolk youth. Their cultivation was extraordinary. One was at the 9th level of Che condensation and the other was at the perfected Che condensation realm. As for the 3 followers at the back, they were also merfolk cultivators. They looked to be the 8th level of Che condensation. The moonlight revealed their faces, which were filled with malevolence and killing intent. Xu Qing coldly looked at them and slowly narrowed his eyes. However, he didn't attack immediately. Instead, he looked behind them. Why didn't those foundation building Dao protectors appear? Xu Qing fell silent. Very soon, the 5 figures avoided the patrolling disciples and approached Xu Qing's magic boat. Perhaps it was because they felt that they had the backing of the Third Highness. Or perhaps it was because of the arrogance of the merfolk race. The moment they got close to Xu Qing's magic boat, the speed of the younger sister of the 2 merfolk women suddenly increased as she tried to rush over. However, she was stopped by her big sister. The elder sister was clearly much more rational and didn't act rashly. She took out a talisman. The talisman's effect seemed to be probing and not offensive. A few breaths later, the 2 merfolk women sensed that there was no one on the boat and turned back, looking like they were about to leave. The coldness in Xu Qing's eyes dissipated. The reason why he left the boat was because he didn't want to kill in his boat. Once he killed in his magic boat, the traces would be too obvious and there would be many future troubles. Naturally, if these few people really barged in, Xu Qing would adapt to it. He stared at the 5 merfolk and waited for them to leave. His plan was to secretly follow them and assassinate them one by one and destroy their corpses. However, just as the 5 of them were about to leave and Xu Qing was about to take a step in the dark, the expression of the older sister of the 2 merfolk women changed. She abruptly looked at Xu Qing's hiding place. There's the bloodline curse fluctuation of brother's death there. As soon as the woman spoke, her younger sister also looked over. Her green eyes were filled with killing intent as she charged towards Xu Qing. The 3 followers in the surroundings also showed intense killing intent as they sped over. I was discovered. Xu Qing frowned slightly. The other party was the Third Highness men. If he started a fight here, it would attract attention. In addition, he also had to consider these merfolk people sending messages to others. Hence, the instant the other party rushed over, Xu Qing rapidly retreated while restraining his aura. He put on a panicked expression to numb the other party and let them be certain of their victory. so that they wouldn't transmit messages to others immediately. Xu Qing didn't plan to delay for too long. He was going to find a remote place before he made a move. The 5 merfolk cultivators chased after him at high speed. The younger sister was at the front with a ferocious glint in her eyes. With a wave of her hand, black bubbles appeared beside her. She threw them towards Xu Qing, who was fleeing in panic, with killing intent. These bubbles that emitted fluctuations of spells and anomalous substances rapidly approached Xu Qing, as though they wanted to taint Xu Qing. "So it is you who killed my clan's younger brother. It'll make you wish you were dead." As she spoke, the 3 merfolk followers behind her each took out their weapons with sinister expressions. One held a bone sword, one's hands were covered in scales that transformed into poisonous spikes, and the other had sarcomas growing on his back that tore his clothes apart, emitting a dense poisonous fog that transformed into the shadow of a malicious ghost which chased after Xu Qing. The elder sister was at the back. She was cautious by nature, so she didn't chase too closely. She even habitually took out her talisman to protect herself. Xu Qing ignored the spells behind him and sped up. When those spells were about to reach him, he had already arrived at a remote corner. Only then did he stop moving forward. He suddenly turned around, and his eyes revealed killing intent. His speed instantly erupted, several times faster than before as he directly slammed behind him. His figure was so fast that he arrived in front of the furious merfolk sister in the blink of an eye. He ignored the anomalous substances in the bubbles, and before the other party's expression could change, Xu Qing ruthlessly slammed into the woman's chest. Even though this woman was at the 9th level of Qi condensation and had the talent of the merfolk race, in the face of Xu Qing's physical strength that surpassed Qi condensation and his powerful spirit energy, her body was like paper. The instant Xu Qing touched her, the woman's eyes widened. Before she could even let out a scream, her body collapsed. Flesh and blood splatter everywhere as her entire body was smashed into pieces. Only her head flew up and was enveloped by a ball of blue light. It seemed to have retained her life force and was retreating rapidly. Xu Qing took a look, and with a wave of his hand, the black iron stick flew out, heading straight for the head. He didn't stop at all as he appeared in front of the follower who was holding the bone sword. At the same time that the follower's expression changed, Xu Qing had already grabbed his bone sword and broke it. Xu Qing flipped the broken end of the sword blade and stabbed it into the follower's neck, slashing it open. This follower at the 8th level of Qi condensation died instantly with blood spurting out of his neck. This wasn't the end. Xu Qing took a step forward and arrived beside another follower whose sarcomas were emitting poisonous gas. This follower was already retreating with panicked breathing. However, after taking a few steps back, his body trembled and his entire body turned greenish black. He spat out a mouthful of blood and died from the poison. Compared to Xu Qing's poison, his poison was insignificant. At the same time, the last follower's mind also rumbled with shock. His body trembled intensely in fright. Just as he was about to let out a scream, countless water droplets suddenly appeared in the surroundings and enveloped his entire body. They then pressed him from all sides, turning him into a blood mist. The black iron stick also caught up to the younger merfolk sister's head that was enveloped by the blue light and stabbed it. However, this blue light runic treasure was astonishing. It flickered rapidly and actually resisted the power of the iron stick. However, the impact still caused half of the head to collapse. However, because of her non-human innate talent, this merfolk woman didn't die immediately. She let out a blood-curdling cry and borrowed the force of the impact to fly toward her big sister. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Xu Qing's attacks were extremely ruthless and decisive. As he killed 3 people in a row, there was also a dagger that emitted a cold light that whistled through the air, heading straight for the elder merfolk sister in the distance. It was already near her. The expression of this elder merfolk sister completely changed to that of unprecedented horror. That she even felt the deaths of her companions earlier were not real.